Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It is me, Nick Hausman, back in the saddle, joined here today by the man who was in the saddle for the last week. It's our good friend, Michael Wiseman. Michael, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
It's weird being back on this side of the screen again. This is a strange sensation, but I am happy we got the good afternoon back. We have you back. It's going to be a great Monday.
You know, I really enjoyed you as the host, Michael. You know, part of me
Thank
says just let him keep it. Just let Michael do the show, you know?
It was tons of fun, but that's a lot of responsibility on one man's shoulders. You know, I don't know that I can, these shoulders might not be quite that tough.
I don't know. My back is broken. I'm a beleaguered Atlas pushing the stone up the mountain. Well, I am very excited to be back. Thank you to everybody who sent the well wishes. I was in Spain with my fiance Liz and her family, and we had a blast. I saw Valencia. Mwah. What a wonderful place. I saw Portugal for about an hour on the way to the airport. I spent about a total of an hour in Germany because that was where my connection was in and out of Spain. One of the German flight attendants on Lufthansa asked me if I was German because my last name was Hausman, and I told him no. My last name means butler or house servant. He told me that my last name means housewife. That's what he told me the translation was. I'm okay with it. I'll let it roll. I respect mothers and housewomen.
No, that's cool. You went. That's an upgrade, right? From, I mean, this is not. I don't want to degrade anybody's job, but from house servant to wife, that's an upgrade.
Sure. I'm a taken man now. I guess Liz got me. I'm her houseman. So we're gonna have a great show today. A lot of people I see already in the chat room chatting it up here. We got Samantha. We got Bruce. We have Nicholas, my plant friend. Thank you very much for showing up today, Leo Uragua over on Facebook. Happy to have him here. Everybody was super nice.
Thank you, Samantha. Kind words. I appreciate those. Thank you.
Everybody, yeah, Mike did a good job while you were gone. And he did. Michael did a great job. So, by the way, my computer screen, I don't know what's happening right now. It's frozen. Am I still here?
You're here. We can hear you. And you know what's cool is after last week's, I got the power. So I also show off some of these great chats, like from Leo Yorguna. Yoro, I just butchered your name. I'm sorry, Leo. Leo Yorugua. Happy Monday.
Ugh, the worst. All right. Well, we're all alive. We're here for another show. We're going to talk about WrestleMania Backlash later on when we get to the Wink Daily Mailbag. Oh, great. Okay, I just came back. Full speed ahead here. Sorry, Elizabeth said it was buffering for me too. Michael did a great job vamping there. But we're here. We're back. Let's get to it. It's time for news you can use, news that will leave a bruise. We're going to start off here with some fallout from WrestleMania Backlash. First of all, we'll start with the main event, the Bloodline defeating Drew McIntyre and RK Bro. I was a little surprised by this. I had told you beforehand I thought that this was a chance to, make McIntyre look good here, maybe even do like an old school title switch with all the titles on the line or something like that. Didn't go that route. And instead, we got the Bloodline going over here. We got a couple updates here on Roman Reigns' contract coming out of this. But what did you think here of the main event from WrestleMania Backlash?
Oh, that was a hell of a main event. I mean, again, disappointed going into it because there weren't stakes. And to your point from 2 weeks ago when we talked about this show, it would have been cool if they would have done something with the titles. It would have added an interesting hook to the match. It could have made things a little bit more interesting from a build perspective to me. But all in all, this was a great match. And if the story they wanted to tell was Roman Reigns continues to protect his bloodline, I think that's great. But honestly, Nick, great match. Maybe the build wasn't great, but I came out of this wanting to see Roman Reigns fight Randy Orton, maybe, not Drew McIntyre. So
I feel the same way. And Randy Orton is in such a weird spot right now because he's easily one of the best and most over wrestlers on the roster, but he's working his ass off to get Riddle over to the next level at the moment, And he's doing a great job of it. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of people are clamoring to see Randy Orton mixed up with Roman Reigns right now.
Well, there was just something interesting last night. And honestly, there was actually moments where I also thought Drew looked spectacular. And there was a moment early on when we had Drew and we had Roman Reigns face to face, and Drew was just a little bit taller and a little bit bigger than Roman. I was like, oh shit, this could be a mega match. But I think it was later when Randy was doing his outside the ring psychological thing with Roman. I was like, that could be good too. So what's interesting to me, you could go a lot of different directions coming out of this. Maybe last night, just a great match, a one-off, but where do you go next? It opens up the door to a lot of possibilities.
Well, Roman Reigns made some headlines here this past week, and he gave a speech at a WWE live event to a WWE live event crowd in Trenton, New Jersey, and in it, he gave a hint that his current WWE run may be coming to an end soon because he's starting a new phase in his life and career. Fightful saying one source backstage at WWE said that Roman is still heavily figured into creative plans for the foreseeable future, and they don't see him leaving anytime soon. Producers, staff, higher ups in the company have not been informed of any upcoming extended absences for Reigns, and the Observer saying Reigns has in fact signed a new deal with WWE that's going to see him work fewer dates for the company. Right now he's doing about 100 dates. I don't know what it'll drop down to, but easier workload for the tribal chief. And, again, somebody they're going to want to try. I mean, look, Cena, Rock, these guys have come, they've gone. You've got somebody here in the moment right now that's really busy. I'm not surprised to hear that they're cutting back dates or giving him really whatever they want, whatever he wants. Just keep him around and away from Hollywood at the moment.
Well, and you talk about the star power of this guy and his ability to draw a big crowd. And the rarer you make that, I'm not saying he shouldn't show up to house shows, but if you're going to make him that true next generation attraction like Brock Lesnar has been, Brock Lesnar ain't working every house show date. And it kind of gives you a chance to give him the time off. And I hope maybe we see more of some stuff like this. I know Roman's a special case, but with what happened with Charlotte last night, these superstars work their asses off so much, taking some time off for personal reasons, for just to get off the road and stop being so beat up, I think could pay dividends as we get deeper and deeper and have more limited rosters, but get deeper and deeper into the coming years.
Yeah, no, and we'll talk about Charlotte here because I know a lot of people are talking about her in the chat room as well. Yeah, she lost the WWE SmackDown Championship to Ronda Rousey. Ronda forced her to say "I quit" in a pretty gnarly way with that armbar through the steel chair. I thought it looked really good, man. I liked that finish a lot.
It felt real and intense, and I think, I had some jokes about, well, how was the arm bending in that direction? Does it really hurt or whatever? The chair made it look more dramatic. Charlotte's cell made it look more dramatic. Ronda Rousey, her facial expressions, her intensity, the way she yanked back on it, all of that made it feel super intense, and I think that made the finish strong, but the whole match had that feeling of just gritty intensity. It made Ronda look more like a star than she has looked in this entire run since returning.
I agree. I thought she looked like a wrestler for the first time in a while. I thought the flow was good. Obviously, you're working with Charlotte and it's one-on-one, so that you have a great dancing partner there. But I really thought it over-delivered. I see Samantha here saying it was better than she expected last night on the show. As a follow-up on that, Fightful saying Charlotte is also going to be taking some time away. That's why WWE is running an injury angle right now with her. The Observer saying the reason she's leaving is to get married. She's requested some time off from WWE prior to Sunday's event. So Charlotte out here, Ronda definitively the champion over on the SmackDown brand. Who do you peg is the one to step up to the new champ in Ronda Rousey right now? It's tough to share that spotlight with her.
I'm just gonna say, doesn't it really? Number one, they let off Seth and Becky to get married a few years ago, and that rubbed CM Punk the wrong way. Charlotte getting married to somebody from a different company and getting time off to do that. God, it just feels like they're just poking the CM Punk bears.
But here's the thing: is like, and I'll throw this in from the Observer. Fox and USA right now, they are apparently looking more notably Fox, I should say, wanting exclusivity to some of the superstars on their respective show, Raw, SmackDown. It's already been reported, I think, from the Observer months ago that Fox, big fan of Charlotte Flair. That's somebody they want on their brand. That's why she was moved over there. Roman Reigns, obviously a big star over there for them. So if you're, it's not just like at the whims of what Vince does and doesn't want here with Charlotte Flair. Charlotte has her own advocates in her corner right now that are the big money backers that are trying to get Vince to do the kind of show they want him to be doing. And that's why Charlotte, maybe she gets time off to go marry the competition, or somebody from the competition. She's very influential at the moment.
Well, you get Charlotte, who has also been doing a little bit of acting here and there and building up her credibility there. You got Roman Reigns with ties to Hollywood already with his cousin The Rock and already showing up in some of those movies. Like, yeah, it's tough. I remember the quote about Vince McMahon saying he was never going to let somebody else get him essentially over a barrel like John Cena had, right? Like John Cena was
Sure.
really the last guy who dictated his own career path. Before that, guys like Austin, guys like The Rock, all of these guys, they had a lot of say and sway in what happened because they were such big stars and they were so over and major money makers that Vince McMahon couldn't really shut it down, or they were going to go do something else or take their ball and go home. Well, you saw John Cena had that control, but I really, in the last decade, we've not had a lot of people, a lot of stars big enough outside of guys like Brock Lesnar who would come back, who are part-timers like Bill Goldberg, who could basically say, I'm going to go do this and be off for 3 months and I'll come back at my leisure. We've not had that in quite some time, but reduced rosters, to your point here, Fox wanting some exclusivity around some of these superstars,
Oh yeah.
that does raise the level of demand, and it does give these stars a little bit more bartering power at the table to say, hey, you got to give us some time off. And I look back and I feel bad for Punk. I know that's a whole different thing, but guys like Punk in the last 10 years, they've not had that ability to come back and say, I want this and demand it on my terms.
Well, and obviously Cody's the exception to that rule right now. We'll see. Could a John Moxley be behind him, or a revitalized Chris Jericho? I guess we'll find out in the next couple of years. I will say back to Ronda Rousey as the champion. We got a couple people in the chat room saying we got Alonzo and Alex Diaz 1990 here saying they would love to see a returning Bayley come back to be the one to confront Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Of course, Bayley over on Twitter late last night, early this morning, calling people idiots who don't understand how injuries work, demanding she return to TV. I'm guessing before she's healed is the point that she's making. Idiots.
Yeah, does she also have a stressed isosceles triangle like Charlotte has?
I don't, maybe.
Or survey. What is it? What is a circle? What was the thing she had injured last night? They can't nobody can have a damn broken arm or an injured wrist. They got to have like a loose clavicle or something, right? Like it's just.
Well, hey, look, I hope Bayley was throwing some sand over a return because, we've seen Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, we've Sonya Deville, there's been so many women that have stepped up to Becky and to Charlotte here in the past few months. I'd like somebody a little bit different. And the fans are really, really clamoring for Bayley right now. And at the same time, Ronda Rousey is a babyface, to the best of my knowledge right now. She is being booked as a babyface, seems to be getting a pretty decent response. If you're trying to amplify that babyface reaction, you're going to need a better heel. And there are very few heels better right now in the women's division than Bayley. And I would love to see Bayley be the one to step up to Ronda Rousey.
I want to, the great claw in the chat feels like they are pushing Lacey Evans for that next push on SmackDown. I think Lacey Evans could slide into that role as well. I agree with you though, Nick. Bayley is for me the one who is money. I think it's interesting. I mean, last night we didn't have Bayley, we didn't have Sasha Banks, we didn't even have Bianca Belair. So not a ton of those kind of star powers, Ronda or Becky Lynch. But from the SmackDown perspective, putting Bayley out there is an interesting dynamic. Fans want her because we've not seen much of her lately, which again, get somebody off TV, let them get refreshed. Even if they're legitimately injured, fans will clamor for them to come back. But I wonder, with Ronda now coming out as a champ, and she looked intense last night, I don't think Ronda would go for it, but do we do the double flip, right? Bayley comes back, fans love her, they've missed her. Ronda goes heel. She leans into that, snarling, kind of more gritty personality.
I don't know. I think you're possibly dropping a match under the money cart there. They finally seem to get people cheering Ronda Rousey. You want to make that return back, you got to sell them t-shirts. You got to sell them action figures. You got to sell them Ronda Rousey ice cream bars. I'm just going to make them.
I'd buy one of those.
I would too. That'd be great. But no, they're not doing that.
Problem it would melt before you ate it. That's the problem. So.
I don't think you overthink it here. And I get the Lacey Evans thing, but she's a baby face too right now. She's not working heel. I don't know why you would try to outshine Ronda Rousey with a Lacey Evans right now. That's just me.
I don't think it sticks. I don't think last night's. I think it was a great match and a great moment for Ronda. I don't think the reaction last night carries much beyond the next week. Just me.
Well, another woman making big moves last night was Rhea Ripley, man. And I know she's not on SmackDown. She's over on Raw, but she helped Edge defeat AJ Styles. She's now part of Judgment Day alongside Damian Priest. She looked good universally. Everybody seems very happy by this decision.
It was a badass way to bring her into this. Now, I'm going to nitpick in a second, but before I nitpick, let me say I liked this. It gave Edge a reason to win. It didn't make AJ Styles look weak because of the interference. I thought it was weird the ref did allow Damian Priest to literally get in the ring, even though he was banned from ringside. So issues with that aside, it's pro wrestling. I know, I get it. having Rhea Ripley come out in that costume, and you didn't, everybody, I mean, I think just assumed it was going to be a man in there. Maybe it was Ciampa. And then when you saw the ring gear and the tights and the boots, you're like, oh, okay, I can put it together now. I thought it was cool. She had a badass look. I would have saved the reveal for tonight on Raw. I agree with Bully Ray. He tweeted this out last night. It was a great chance. Have her even more hooded, more cloaked, hide her personality entirely. And you, in the show, some mysterious figure are in the match. Mysterious figure has joined Edge's faction. Who will it be? And that gives you a hook for Raw tonight. Other than that, though, nitpick aside, that was badass.
Yeah, I see it. It's a little thing. It's a little twist. I thought it worked because it was a pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it. You want those big moments to happen on those shows, give people a reason to tune into those big shows. So I thought it was a good deliver. But I get the comment. I do wonder what's next for Rhea now. With this new coat of paint that she's got, is she going to be the one to make Becky Lynch's life miserable right now? Again, you put yourself in kind of a heel dynamic. But that would be more of the double turn I could see there than over with Ronda Rousey.
Well, it's a strange place for Edge's faction, and I'm glad they're doing it. And I think you could, again, add some more people, like maybe we do a Finn Balor turn, maybe we do add a Ciampa to that group. But it feels like Roman Reigns and the Bloodline have kind of taken all of the oxygen out of all of the championships right now. Back in the 90s, I could see them doing a faction versus faction kind of battle or feud, or the titles could come over to Edge's group. You could see Rhea Ripley take the championship from Bianca as part of that build. But I don't know. They're so focused on the Bloodline. I mean, maybe Rhea takes the championship and she represents a world champion as part of that faction. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, also last night, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins opened up the show with a great match that ended with a screwy finish. We had a roll up of the tights from Seth, got reversed. Cody rolled up the tights, got the win over Seth, and then it teased Money in the Bank after the match was over. Between now and Money in the Bank, we still have Hell in a Cell. I still think we get Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes at Hell in a Cell. We're gonna get Rollins bitching and complaining tonight that Cody had to cheat to beat him, and doesn't want any shenanigans because he's an above board kind of guy, that flamboyant Seth Rollins. And so we're gonna put it in the cell. We're going to settle it there. Cody Rhodes is going to throw this man 20 feet to his death. That's my soft guess.
I would love to see them battle in a cell because I think the feud and the rivalry has been good enough and heated enough that it would justify a cell match, unlike a lot of matches we end up seeing in the cell. Mm-hmm. It is tough for me. I'm glad they didn't do the even Steven booking of, well, Cody won one, now he's got to take a loss, right? They let Cody win again. The roll-up doesn't bother me. These two men were so evenly matched, and that was a hell of a match. If you've not seen it, go back and watch it. It was just a fantastic outing from both men. But the roll-up to me works because it was the only way that Cody Rhodes could get an edge on an evenly matched Seth Rollins. They were reversing finishers. They were the whole 9 yards. So I liked it. And they even reversed the roll-up, which I thought was just a beautiful tweak to that. But I don't know. Can Seth Rollins take a third loss to Cody Rhodes and still be in that same position?
Yes.
Still be that credible?
Okay. Yes. I think he can. I think he can indeed. I think they're going to have a great cell match, and I think Cody will roll right into Money in the Bank, where I'd peg him as the favorite. And Seth Rollins can always be angry and attack somebody, and he's going to be right back where he is. And I think that Cody Rhodes should be giving Seth half of whatever he's making right now, because Seth is doing a great job reacquainting Cody to the WWE universe and putting on a damn fine program. And I the second loss will always be debated because Cody had to pull the tights, right?
Sure.
So Seth can always make the case that he should have won the second one. So I don't think there's I don't think so. But look, a lot of people here. Alonzo saying I've had it with all these WWE rematches. I'm over it. We've had James Jones saying I think they're starting fresh. Seth and Cody need to move on to what's next. I seriously think I think they string it out to Hell in a Cell. Why? What other matches fit Hell in a Cell right now? If you're Drew and Roman, I guess maybe. I don't know.
To me, I don't mind this feud because the first one, there was no build for. It was just who's going to be his opponent. Then they had a month to build this match, and one more month, I think you could stretch it out, get some great promos. And to your point, Seth has a great place to jump from with all of that. Hey, he cheated. He had to cheat to win. He can't do it again. I think you got to amp up the stakes, though. Hell in a Cell, maybe. Do we give them the winner gets a title shot? There's some ways you can still make this interesting. In general, though, I like the sentiment. There were a lot of rematches last night, and while they're great matches, it makes me wonder, why did we even have all of these at WrestleMania if the feuds are never going to end? AJ Styles Edge is the one for me that this doesn't feel. The finish was fun, but it's not a satisfying feud because of the way they drug it out.
They're gonna keep that one going too.
I know.
Like, it's so much like Ronda Rousey Charlotte was one of the few finishes that resulted in some kind of finality. Omos and Bobby Lashley's last thing I wanted to bring up here from last night. Lashley gets cheated by MVP, popped in the face at this cane, and then gets pinned by Omos after the big Omos bomb or whatever they're calling it. And this was Lashley's first WWE Premium Live event pinfall loss in 7 months. You have to go all the way back to Crown Jewel when he took on Goldberg to catch his last Premium Live event pinfall loss. This one's going to keep going. We're going to get another one of these. These two will probably be, you know what? I don't put it past him to put these two in the cell. It'll, Edge and AJ, Edge and AJ will probably be in the cell. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to call this out here. MP writes in prediction: Cody will headline one of the two nights at WrestleMania 39. It is fascinating to think about that promo last night that aired in the middle of the show, advertising Money in the Bank, of course, a stadium show in Las Vegas this year, right. And how he said the winner gets to main event WrestleMania. I think that is being taken out of context, but could you see Cody Rhodes win Money in the Bank and save it for 6 months until WrestleMania next year?
Maybe. I think it's more likely he wins Money in the Bank, calls out Roman for SummerSlam, would be my guess. And I don't know that he even wins, right? He could be a real high-profile victory for Roman Reigns to fill some time here before we get to the eventual Rock match. Because let's be fair, right? Cody was the outside guy coming back. He's been shined up to look great. Why not maybe feed this guy to Roman Reigns? And he can always come back the summer after, Reigns and Rock, do the dance and take it back then, right? Who knows? But I think SummerSlam we see Rhodes and Reigns. One person we're not going to see in NXT. According to Fightful, Candice LeRae, her WWE contract is expired. It was reported that LeRae and Gargano remain on good terms with WWE. The company wanted them back if possible. No word yet on what happened in contract talks, but we'll keep you updated as we find out. I'm just happy these two get to go be parents right now, get to go be with their baby, Quill. Not enough people get to do that in wrestling. And I honestly would not be shocked to see these two wind up back in WWE as opposed to jumping to AEW or whatever. I mean, Gargano was hanging out with Bivens, who's no longer with the company. Very sad. We can talk about that if you want. I know you did last week. But he was down at the Performance Center with Bivens just about a week or so ago. I thought that was a pretty strong tell that he's still very much in the loop down there.
Yeah, you have friends. I just think if you are Johnny Gargano, you are not going. You see how much fun your friends are having across the way, and I have to imagine a guy like Tony Khan is chomping at the bit to get him and Ciampa in AEW at some point. I don't see it.
Yeah. Stu Grayson, he took to Twitter. He revealed that his contract expired this past Saturday, April 30th. He sent well wishes to everybody in AEW, and he gave a special shout out to the Dark Order. And I'm a little surprised by this one. I mean, there was that moment when Hangman Page told the Dark Order, I'm going to go my own way or whatever. And in that moment, I saw the Dark Order fading away. And it's a really interesting, I believe Evil Uno has resigned. I would be very surprised if they let John Silver go. But Preston Ten Vance, big gentleman. We love the story with Brody Jr. I don't know if he's necessary to the brand. Colt Cabana, backstage producer figure. Again, he's at odds with CM Punk. I don't know if these two have to sit in different sides of the room. When it's backstage, if it's weird, just being real. I did see Colt was on Young Rock doing his Brooklyn Brawler impression. I don't know if you saw that, but last week. So I don't really know what the future, and it's very odd too with how sentimental the Dark Order has become. At least on the surface to AEW and its fans, as soon as the first wave of cuts go to see them possibly being on the way out, I don't know. It's certainly a message, certainly a signal.
Yeah, it's weird. And for a faction that was so heavily featured, not even that twice. I mean, we talk about with Brody Lee, but then again, not too long ago with Hangman Page. And one of the earliest factions, I mean, they showed up on that very first show, if I recall correctly, as kind of being a thing. And they've turned into more of a comedy, and there's always been a little bit of that, but the edge isn't there. They're not taken seriously in storylines anymore. And I just, Stu, great talent, will end up, maybe as the chat room calls out here, an Impact or whatever else. But as a whole, I just don't think Tony Khan's interested in the Dark Order without one of these other main event players hanging around.
It was, the Dark Order pre Brody's passing was kind of finding a groove, but before Brody got involved, it was very adrift. I remember being at the first AEW, I think it was All In, or they went All Out. All Out was the first one.
All In was the pre-AEW, AEW.
Right.
We did it. We sold out Chicago. Yeah.
I remember being at AEW All Out, and the Dark Order debuted, and it had all them little Putty Patrol goons that made a throne that Evil Unos. You remember that? Remember when there used to be all the Dark Order Putty Patrol people?
Yes.
That place was not feeding. They were not feeling it. They were not. And then Brody reinvented it, and then Brody passed, and they became kind of this thing that you had to cheer, right? Because you were so affectionate for Brody and everything. And how long can you ride a wave like that? It's just interesting. It's not an easy call on Tony's part to kind of part ways with these guys, especially again considering the I think connection that many fans feel with the Dark Order.
Well, and I also think to that point, Nick, we're talking about the Dark Order here. They were originally called the Super Smash Brothers, which, is a reference to a Nintendo game franchise. You can't do that. I think the Dark Order makes them feel a little bit more like serious and like edgier. Like, they're kind of like the, what was Undertaker's faction, the Acolytes, or, the Ministry of Darkness. Sure. It feels like they're trying to be a dark faction, but their personalities and characteristics, like really, you mentioned the Putty Patrol, like that's not a thing that a dark faction does. It's kind of these goofy little things. So it's a weird in between, I think. Are they a serious one? Are they a goofy one? I don't think we've ever really established. Are they more Danhausen, right? Or are they more Hook? We haven't really ever established which side they fall on,
That's a few. I have to catch up on a little bit more AEW. We can talk Hook Danhausen later. All right. Lastly, Jonah, the former Bronson Reed, has announced that he's no longer with Impact. A lot of people leaving Impact. That's certainly something I picked up listening to the show and from last week. Good Brothers appear to be out. Willie Mack not sticking around. The Inspiration just straight up quitting the whole entire business after spending time in Impact Wrestling. What do you think's going on here, man? I know Mia Yim's back. I can't think that they cleared all these people out to make enough budget for just Mia Yim. So something seems up to me here with this.
I don't know, Nick. I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, I've said this a dozen times in the last decade, but I'm a little bit concerned about the future of Impact Wrestling right now with all of these stars leaving. But also, I look at this and I'm like, I don't want to read in too much into this either, but Jonah, you got the cut from WWE NXT and showing up in other places since then. I'm not saying it's him. I'm not saying it's Impact Wrestling. I'm probably more concerned about Impact Wrestling than I am the former Bronson Reed, but
yes,
yeah, we'll see.
This episode of the Wrestling Inc. Daily is brought to you by Raycon. Moms out there, they're one of the few people that actually call you on the phone and they leave you voicemails anymore. They're like, hey, how's your pro wrestling journalism career going? And I'm like, every day is weird. I cover pro wrestling journalism. So, why not this Mother's Day? Why don't you spoil your mom with the gift of quality, premium, wireless audio, courtesy of our good friends over at Raycon. So Raycon are these wireless earbuds that I've got in my ear right now. They are must-have for super moms, all of those masters of multitasking who need to keep their hands free. With Raycons, they can stay entertained listening to their favorite podcast, music. They can take phone calls. I was just doing that in the other room. You got this vivid voice technology, all of it hands-free. Look, wearing them, not touching anything. They're user-friendly for moms that aren't used to wireless technology. Easy to set up. I just opened up the case, which was super easy to do. And then, boom, on my phone, I went over to the Bluetooth area. It said everyday earbuds. I connected, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm talking on the phone. And this right here is great. They got all these different color options you can pick from. I chose black, like the black color, but you can find mom a color that suits her and her personality and her style. You're going to get these optimized gel tips. They're going to make sure that your earbuds fit perfectly in ear. You get to choose from one of 5 sizes. And trust me when I say this, they're not going to budge. Okay, they're not going to budge. Watch me. No budging. I'm swinging my head around. They're staying perfectly in my ear. So for the mom on the go, Raycons offer 8 hours of playtime, a 32-hour battery life with their compact portable charging case just right here. They're priced just for you. You get the great quality audio. You get half the price of other premium audio brands. And Raycon's everyday earbuds right here, they have over 49,000 5-star reviews. So tell your mom how much you love her. Make sure she hears it in crystal clear audio by going to buyraycon.com/wrestling inc to get 15% off your Mother's Day order. Again, that's buyraycon.com/wrestling inc. And we want to thank Raycon for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. Daily. And we're back. I love the commercial break. Get up, get some more water. It's wonderful. All right, let's get to it here. It's time for the mailbag. At Wink Daily, that's the account to follow if you want to vote in our daily Wrestling Inc. daily polls. Today's poll question: what was the match of the night at WrestleMania Backlash? We've got 200 votes here in the last hour. 56.7% of people say Rhodes versus Rollins. 22.3% the 6-man main event. 16.6% Rousey Flair, and then only 4.5% for everything else that was on the card last night. Was there one match that really stuck out to you last night?
I mean, for me, it's got to be Rhodes Rollins. I praised it earlier in the show. I loved the hell out of it, but I will tell you top to bottom, I'm not saying Rousey Flair was better than Rhodes Rollins. I'm not saying the 6-man main event topped it either, but that was to be an underhyped show and not a lot of stipulations out there that seemed interesting. That was a hell of a wrestling show, especially from WWE. So rematches aside, 3 good solid hours of wrestling.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun paper. I didn't really have anything I did vehemently disliked. I mean, if you're not an Omos fan and you love Bobby Lashley, that one you may probably rolled your eyes to. But I'm with you. I thought it was a lot of great action last night. Rhodes and Rollins is where my heart's at too, and that's why I think these guys are going to get the Hell in a Cell match, man, because they have such good chemistry together, right? Seth Rollins can always just kidnap Brandy or something like that. We haven't done that yet, right? Take a knife to Pharaoh's throat, whatever.
Insult Zelda. I'm sure that would do it this day and age, right?
I saw the clip of Steve Austin asking Cody his favorite band, and Cody said Our Lady Peace. And look, dude, I like to get down and listen to some Our Lady Peace, but that's not my favorite band. What kind of a psychopath do you have to be to have your favorite band be Our Lady Peace?
As soon as he said that, his theme, I'm not like his theme music, but his theme music, the entire thing, it clicked, right? The build up, like the Rock, it was just that beautiful. And his favorite pro wrestling match of all time, Rock versus Hogan. So
how many times has Cody let you down? Is Cody Rhodes out there? Is Cody Rhodes listening? Anyway, I could do a whole cover. I could just put Cody's name in that. I know all the words to it. Again, I like Our Lady Peace, but I'm not a psychopath. There's other bands out there that I know to be better bands than Our Lady Peace.
You mean there's other bands somewhere out there to be better than Our Lady Peace?
Dude, that was a clumsy joke, and you know it.
Oh, shut up. Get out. I'm going to host this thing again, and my jokes will be great, damn it.
Clumsy.
They were great last week.
Clumsy as you'll be. Anyway.
Oh, I missed that. Damn.
It was an Our Lady Peace. It was Our Lady Peace joke. I was just using another Our Lady Peace reference.
What did we do without you last week, Nick? This thing was just off the rails. Good thing you're back.
Probably had a better show. Headlocked Heel. Korn is my favorite band. And I would take that. I would take Korn over Our Lady Peace. Anyway.
Korn. Yeah, he should have said Korn. Korn was it.
All right. So we're gonna wrap today on that. Great show, great WrestleMania Backlash, great comments. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna be joined by Issa. No, wait, who's on Tuesdays right now?
Issa.
It is Issa. I thought so. It's like Issa is Tuesdays. Sorry, guys. Clearing the cobwebs out. Issa will be back tomorrow with me. Remember to support the Wrestling Inc. Daily on whatever podcast platform you like. Support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all the socials. We're going to have some big news rolling out about the site in the coming weeks. Of course, this month marks the 25th anniversary of Wrestling Inc. We have some really, really big, cool stuff in the works. I'll tell you a little bit about it off the air, Michael. But you guys should definitely get excited for the ride that is ahead that we call Wrestling Inc. And of course, come back here tonight after the Wrestling Inc. or after Raw for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. It's like this at night, but they just talk about the show.
It's more scandalous. We take off our clothes,
get naked.
No, gotta watch it to find out now.
Michael, what do you want to put over here to wrap up the show?
Great to have you back, Nick. It's a lot of fun doing this show with you again. And again, shout out to all my co-hosts from last week. They were just all amazing. And I am on Twitter at the Real Wiseman.
Cool. And I am at Nick_Houseman. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.